This is the new 2026 Peugeot 2008, one of the best small SUVs, I think, from one of the big brands. Of course, there's loads of new players coming into the UK segment now, offering great cars at low prices. But if you're looking for one of the cars from the big players, then Peugeot have been putting out some seriously good stuff recently, and this is no exception. Going up against really key players such as the Ford Puma, this is one to watch. So, is it worth getting one of those over this, or vice versa? That's what I'm here to find out today. So please join me on a full interior and exterior tour of the car. I'm going to get it out on the road and see what I think. But before we do that, if you're looking to purchase a new car, please make sure that you do it the right way with Vehicle Score. Vehicle Score is a super nice graphical interface on an app on your phone, and it will show you a complete history of the car with their free check, including MOT and mileage and stuff like that. But if you pay for one of their full checks, then that means that you can access any hidden shady past. So if a car's ever been written off, stolen, or has outstanding finance, and what's more, you can use my code danlat10 for 10% off to make things even cheaper for you. It's a really small price to pay to make sure that this car doesn't have a shady past when you're purchasing. So what are you waiting for? If you're looking to do a vehicle check, please use Vehicle Score. My affiliate link is in the description below, which will help out the channel. And I've also got links there if you're looking to buy or sell a car the easy way. We can make it super straightforward for you. All links in the description below. So then, the 2008, I won't go too in depth with the specs because there's quite a few to choose from, but effectively it starts here in the UK from just over £25,000 for the entry level Allure model, and that one is a 1.2 litre 100 horsepower manual, and that one's just a normal 3-cylinder, nothing too crazy, with around 49 mpg fuel consumption combined. And then there is also a 130 model which has an 8-speed automatic transmission. The one I have here is a 145 horsepower hybrid which has an electronically assisted dual clutch 6-speed, and this one starts from around £26,500, and I would recommend it because the hybrid is more efficient on fuel. So on paper it gets around 58 mpg, but you'll find that it is also a lot smoother as well around town because of that electric assistance, and it claims to do up to 50% of round town driving on the electric motor, but that doesn't mean to say that it's in that mode all the time. It definitely feels like a mild hybrid. It doesn't have that full hybrid feel to it like some rivals do, but it's very similar in its driving operation to something like a Ford Puma, which is a direct rival. There is also an electric model called the E2008, which starts from £27,500, which has a 54 kilowatt hour battery with range up to 247 miles. So the Allure trim then, that comes with 17-inch alloys, 10-inch HD screen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 10-inch digital driver's cluster, leather effect upholstery with contrasting stitching and dual zone climate, traffic sign recognition. So it's got all the kind of the basics that you would expect from a family car these days. Upgrading to the GT model gives you a 3D instrument display, which I'll show you on this model here. A reversing camera which also has some top-down view, wireless charging, keyless entry, and some upgraded lighting and things like that. So if you can spring for the GT, I would say it is worth doing. You also get some upgraded sporty styling, as you're going to see on this one here today. But you know, the Allure trim is pretty good as standard anyway, but definitely if there's not much in it price-wise, it's worth looking at this one. As of right now on the website, it's normally around £2,000 to upgrade to the GT trim. But yeah, it's worth going through the configurator yourself to see all the different options because it's going to be quite hard to list them all here today. The one I have here today is the GT Premium, which starts at just under 30 grand, and this one has things like massage seats, Alcantara trim, heated seats, adaptive cruise, and a few other bits and bobs. So this one is kind of the top end, the luxury one if you like. It does however make it a little bit harder when buying one of these on the used market to know whether you're getting the right trim for you. I do prefer when manufacturers streamline them a little bit more than this. What I'll tell you as well is that this colour you see on this one is called Obsession Blue, and it is the default colour. It's not an additional cost colour, and I am a little bit obsessed with it actually. It is gorgeous. It's got like an almost green aqua flake to it, which makes it look really interesting. This light isn't going to do it any justice at all, but it really pops in the sun, and even I suppose in this dim light, and you can see this isn't a trick of the camera. Like in real life right now, this area here is really kind of greeny and pearly, and that area down there looks really dark. It's not just the exposure of the camera, that's what it actually looks like. It's really cool. It's a really, really nice color, and you can see they've really gone to town with the aggressive styling on this. This is obviously the GT model, so it comes with the more sporty styling. Excuse the flicker, it's just the trick of the camera, but you can see this signature claw lighting for the LED running lights. Unfortunately, they don't change the indicators. The indicators are separate, but you can see up front we've got the Peugeot badge front and center. You've got the 2008 model designation there, and you've also got a nice grille that blends in to the bottom area, which has the radar and all that good stuff. And then of course the signature LED lighting, and the LED lighting is quite good on this car. This color really sets it off, I think, and this GT trim definitely makes a difference as well. You can see we've got a slightly raised drive profile and ride height compared to some cars, very similar to the Ford Puma. On this one you do still have fairly chunky tyres. Please do excuse the dirt on the car. It has been a really bad day for weather today, so I've been driving through the rain, and as you can see the colour shifts as I go down the car. Look at this kind of front panel here now, that sort of green effect as we've moved down, and as you can see from the side, got some quite nice sharp angles here which add to the modern look of the car, kind of mirrors on the front area there as well, and then a boxed off rear area and the gloss black roof as well, just to make it look a little bit more sporty. And as we head to the back, a nice chunky rear bumper, which I think makes it look a little bit more SUV like on the road, and you do have some fake exhaustery down here as well. So well, I say fake exhaustery, there is actually an exhaust pipe in both, but there's just some fake exhaustery on the diffuser. But because there's a real exhaust in there, I'm not really going to complain too much. Twin exhaust on a car like this, which is a hybrid, pretty cool. Stands out, to be fair. And then you've got some nice LED rear lighting on this one as well, as you can see, kind of integrates nicely into this back area. No light bar or anything like that, but you've got the Peugeot badge along the back, and then you've got hybrid model designation there. Again, look at this colour, it's awesome, isn't it? It's a bit dirty, but it looks great. And then some sharp angles. I think this is a good looking car, and it is modernised over the previous generations of 2008 as well. I remember the pre-facelift model starting to look a little bit tired. Obviously this one now has really sharpened up for the new model year, which is nice. They need to keep it fresh, especially to compete with some of the rivals that are coming in now. I think the fact that this paint is standard is really cool as well, because it looks like a really expensive premium paint finish. You know, I would be impressed to see this on a supercar, let alone a normal little family SUV like this. So yeah, there are definitely some rivals out there, the Renault Captur, also the Ford Puma, which are going to offer similar value, potentially better value, depending on what you go for and what you value. But this is one of the better cars for interior because it's so quirky and so interesting. So let's jump in and I'll show you what I mean. So the good thing about the keyless entry on the higher end models, or if you add it as a spec option, is that it's done on detection. So you don't have to press the button or touch the door handle. As you walk up to the car, it will unlock. As you walk away, it will lock, a bit like a Tesla or something that's connected to an app. So no need to do that. You can manually touch the door though to close that if you want to, but nice quality feeling door. And in here you can see we do have a really quirky interior, really strange by some standards. I'm going to move my bottle into the door here to show you that. Actually, pretty practical door bin as well. You've got a little bottle stand area and still some space in there, and as you can see we've got some nice contrast materials. This is kind of padded, so it means there's a decent quality to it, and even the scratchy plastic down bottom doesn't feel too cheap. You've got some sort of pleather on the armrest here with the Peugeot contrast green sort of yellow neon stitching, and some standard Peugeot switchgear. And this sort of carbon fiber looking trim here is actually plush as well, so it's not that solid on the door. And as you can see, as we head into the cabin as well, it is actually like a soft squidgy material on the dash, which is pretty good. But yeah, it's a super interesting interior, isn't it? On this top end one, we have the Alcantara, which I do think sets it off, makes it look more premium, and it's quite comfy as well. And look at all this contrast stitching, looks really cool, doesn't it? That kind of colour just really pops, and it's famous on the kind of faster Peugeots. And you can see on this one we have the massage seat functions, and as you'll notice you've got the kind of Peugeot cockpit interior as you've come to know on these newer models. So let's jump in. Got a nice, this is actually still got its original wrap on it, this car's brand new, so you've got a metallic sill plate down there. Let's jump in and I'll give you a full interior tour and break down what this thing looks like. So I'm going to fire the car up, so I'm going to foot on the brake and press the power button here, and then the car will spring to life. And as you can see, this steering wheel is kind of made to be below the dash in a way, which is something that some people love and some people really don't. For me, it's not too bad. From my driving position, this is kind of my eye line here, so it does cut off the very bottom of the display based on me tilting and telescoping this wheel to exactly where I would like it. And it is kind of a squoval shape as well, so that's you know, whether that's your preference or not, I'm not sure. But it does mean that for some people this might obscure the screen in front of you a little bit, which is a little bit awkward, but it's designed to be above like that, so you've got kind of like a cockpit view. And this obviously as well is the premium version, so it's not really going to come across on camera too well, but the bit in front is a hologram. So this is a 3D display, and it basically projects a hologram of some of that information. So all the stuff you see in the middle here is projected in a 3D way to my eye. So it's not as good as I've seen it in real life obviously, but you get a vague idea. And you can change this display in multiple ways. There's a kind of a toggle on the steering wheel here to change change this to several different modes. So if I zoom in on it for you, you'll be able to see there's a couple of different options. I can have like a map and navigation. You can also have, which is cool because the speed and that stuff there is all kind of 3D popping out towards me. Again, like if I move around, you'll probably be able to see that it's not on the same layer. So yeah, there's a couple of different things to choose from. Nothing too crazy. Personally, I just leave it on the standard dials view, and then I get an indicator for like the charge, traffic sign recognition, and just the basic information that I need. There's also the button on the end of the wiper stalk here, and that will cycle through some of my trip information. So it will show the current economy. So my average has been about 44 mpg. So take from that what you will. That's me driving it absolutely normally. No kind of adaptations to my driving style. So that might give you an idea of actual real world consumption. Between 45 and 50 has been my average. So not far off the claim, but not quite the claimed economy as well. If it was a full hybrid, I think it would do better there. But yeah, as for the rest of this interior, super quirky, right? So you've got this carbon that runs all the way along here. Obviously being the sportier model, you get this upgraded trim, and the contrast stitching runs along the top of the dash as well to these cool sort of Lambo style vents. And this is all squidgy material up here as well. So it feels fairly good quality. I also like this central display because it's angled towards me, and it's got this nice little lip here, so I can actually rest my thumb on here to stabilize my hand when I'm driving if I need to desperately tap something. So that's nice and easy too. Some of the controls are a little bit fiddly. So if I press here, you'd expect this to change to my air conditioning, right? But it doesn't. It just brings down this kind of display here, and you can't access anything. So what you have to do is you have to go down here to the climate controls, and there's a little touch sensitive button here. When you tap that, it will go straight to the air conditioning, and you can then make adjustments. And if you tap it again, it will take you back to CarPlay. So that's fine, but it's not obvious when you first get in the car. It's not very intuitive. But overall, this display isn't too bad. You can get home again by tapping this touch button here, and this will take you to the main screen. There's a few different bits that you can do. It's fairly basic, but there are some settings on there for things like EQ, customization for the car and things like that. Interior, the ambient lighting, so you might be able to see there's ambient lighting running along the doors and the dash, so you can change that stuff. Connectivity options, your voice assistant, a couple of vehicle options. Nothing too crazy, right? There's not really an awful lot of options and apps and stuff in here, but it gets the job done. The interface is fairly decent, and there's a shortcut to get back to your Apple CarPlay there, which is what you're going to use, isn't it? So that's fine. It's included as standard, and yeah, the display is quite clear, bright, all that good stuff. And as you can see, angled towards me, I like this kind of cockpit view. Even though this is a little bit inconvenient in its placement, I still quite like the overall feel. It's quirky and futuristic, which is nice. This also lays into that. So these toggles, these are toggle switches. So you've got like your AC on here, you've got a hazard switch as well, and you've also got like your heated windscreen and so on. So nice little indicator sound as well. They come up on these little side screens, which I think is pretty nifty. And yeah, you've got shortcuts here for your heated seats as well. Is it the best? No. Is it the worst? No, it's sufficient. And it's cool that they're toggle switches because it does, again, make you feel like a bit of a pilot in this thing. You've got a hidden area here for your wireless phone charger in the higher end models, 2 USB-Cs. This, annoyingly though, is all gloss plastic. As you can see, this is clearly a touch point that you're going to use quite a bit. And it's quite nice quality, but it's gloss plastic, so you're going to constantly get smudges and fingerprints and scratches all over this, so that's a bit weird. But what is useful is there's not only a wireless charger in here on the higher end models, but also a little stand, so you can put your phone like that if you're sitting eating some lunch or something, you just want to have a little look at what you're watching on your phone. So that's pretty cool. Or if you, you know, for whatever reason you're not using CarPlay, you want your navigation, so there's a little ledge for that, and you can tuck it away. And then down here, another little storage area. This one isn't rubberized though. 12 volt, and then down here your gear select. So another bit of carbon wrap trim, which is a bit weird, looks a bit aftermarket to me, but it's there, it's fine. And then you've got your toggle switch, so down for drive, up for reverse, and then you've also got a manual mode override there as well. The reverse function, as you can see, we've got like a they call it a 180 cam. And then down here you've got your drive mode select, and then you've got your parking brake, 2 cup holders, one of them being quite deep, and then a little storage area in the center section here. Nothing too crazy. The quality of everything is pretty decent in here, feels pretty good. And then on the steering wheel you've got some physical controls too, so you've got your volume here and the controls for the screen, voice commands, and then on this side you've got this is your track skip wheel, and then you've got some stuff for your phone as well. It's a flat bottom steering wheel, 2-spoke, got your GT emblem there, some nice contrast stitching, and your airbag with a new Peugeot logo, very nice. And this is quite a small maneuverable wheel, very light, very nice. And as you'll see, column mounted paddles on the back, which is quite rare. That's more of a sports car thing. And they're not full paddles. They've got like a click button on the back of them. They're not particularly lovely to use, but it's nice that they're there, and it's cool that they are column mounted. You also have a standard cruise control stalk, as you can see through here. So that's very similar to what you'd find in like older Volkswagen Audi group cars and stuff like that. You might be used to that sort of thing. So it's a bit fiddly to use if you're not used to it, to kind of fiddle around with it back here, but once you know what the buttons do, it's absolutely fine. And then you've got all of your light controls on here with your indicators, and of course your wiper controls over there, and nothing too crazy down here. Annoyingly, Peugeot don't have the button that Citroen do to turn off all the bongs and speed warnings and stuff, which is a shame. There is also a cubby in here. It doesn't seem to do anything. You've got your little flight deck information up here for your seat belts and your warnings, and then you've also got just some standard little LED lights and things like that. This one does also have the panoramic roof, which slides backwards, which does add some light to the cabin, especially with this darker headliner. And you've got some really large, generous mirrors with lighting here, so that's good too, isn't it? Whilst I'm at the mirrors, view out the back, you can see quite a decent flat rear window, but a big C-pillar. But thankfully, these side mirrors do the job, and they've got blind spot monitors built in as well. So overall, some ergonomic challenges. I can get this in a driving position that I like, but it does mean that I'm very close to the pillar here, and it does mean that I intrude on the rear space as well. So just something to bear in mind if you're a larger person or a taller person. And yeah, I think ergonomically it's pretty good because I've got toggles here that I can reach easily. I've got this here which I can reach easily, and everything kind of works as I would expect it to. However, it is just a bit of a shame that some of the ergonomic oversights, if you're a certain size of person. In the glove box as well, you'll notice it is a half-size glove box because of the fact this is a right-hand drive car. You've got the fuse box over there. Only the left-hand drive ones get a full glove box. Definitely more interesting than something like a Ford Puma though, isn't it? So something to consider if you want something that's really quirky and cool on the inside, especially these top-end models with all of the extra trim. I think it's definitely worth a look. So heading into the back of the 2008, the doors open quite wide, which is going to be handy for getting like the child seats in and out and things like that. And as we step inside, you can see it's pretty standard back here. You've got quite a large transmission hump because of this fact this is a standard ICE car, and then on the back of the seats here we've got some netting, but nothing too crazy. However, you do have USB-C and USB-A in the middle for charging, which is a nice touch. And then you can see we've got little zips here for the ISOFIX covers, which means that they're not going to get lost and stuff. You can just open that up there. You can see there, you know, nice and easy to get in, which is cool, and they just zip shut. And these are nice flat areas too, so you're not going to damage them too much when taking child seats in and out. Not much adjustment on the seats back here, but you get the same nice quality. And what I'll do now is jump in and show you exactly how much space we're dealing with. So stepping into the back of the 2008, and this is where it falls a little bit short, but it's not terrible. So I'm 6 foot, I'm in my driving position in front of me here, and because of the contour in the seat, I do have enough knee room to get by. But as you can see, not much thigh support, and it is a little bit cramped back here. So for adult passengers and passengers with longer legs, I would say not the best for a long journey. That being said though, obviously the boxy shape helps with headroom, so I'm quite comfortable from that perspective, and I've got a place to rest my arms. Shame there's no kind of center armrests and stuff like that, but you can't really expect that in this segment. It's just that obviously some of the other cars coming in now, the larger Chinese brand SUVs, offer a lot more luxury at this price point at this stage, so it's just something to consider. But it offers the basics. I wouldn't want to sit anyone in the middle because of the large transmission hump, but kiddies will be fine back here. I would just say for adult passengers in the rear, you'll get by, but it's not class leading. So as for your cargo area, this one has a manual tailgate, and as you lift that up, nice hydraulic action, and this parcel shelf is super easy to use and remove. It's just on these kind of bungees, which is nice and straightforward. They just pop off, pop, pop, and then give it a tap, and you're away. And luckily, because this one has the false floor fitted, I can store this under here no problem if I want to, or of course you can remove it. And it's not terribly big or heavy, so nice and easy to use, that one. And what you'll see is we're left with a pretty large space, which is pretty practical to use. So let's dive in. So this is what you're left to contend with. You do have a pretty much zero load lip here because this is the one with the false floor, which is an option on the lower end, but you can get it on the higher end cars as well. I would recommend it because it gives you this false area, which is nice and easy to load through and combines with the 60-40 split to create a fully flat area. Now under here, you've got a nice quality handle to lift this up, and you can see we've got a little bit more space so you can adjust that floor height. And then under here as well, we've got the actual wheel well. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't have any trick features. In the Ford Puma, you've got under here what they call the Mega Box, which is a big waterproof well which you can put stuff in, you know, muddy shoes or whatever, hose it down and drain it out. This doesn't have any special features like this, which is a shame. Even though this space is quite sort of practical and open, as you can see, decent size, decent shape. It's still not going to be as useful as some of those extra features that you find in cars such as the Puma and other rivals. So that's something to bear in mind as well. But putting these seats down nice and easy, you've got a 60-40 split, lean in, just give it a push. It gets a bit snagged on the seatbelt, and the seatbelts do snag. Bringing them back up is the only thing, so you need to do that manually, which is a bit of a shame, but it does create a nice flat area, as you can see, and because of this opening at the back. Tall items might struggle at the very back here, but in general it's quite a boxed off shape, so it's not going to be too bad in terms of practicality of larger items. So if I head round to the side, you'll see that it's still pretty flat with those seats down. The only downside is, as I said, you're going to snag the seatbelt, so this isn't really a one-handed operation, unfortunately. I need to get the seatbelt from back there to put this seat back, and even then it's a little bit tricky. So even though the seats are light, it's a little bit of a pain, and there's no extra special features in terms of adjustment back here. That being said though, overall it's a pretty practical space. You have a few little side cubbies here, so you've got one there and a little light, but there's no additional power or tie hooks or shopping hooks or anything back here. It's very basic, and it's a shame because even a couple of tie hooks or some netting or something would make this space a little bit more practical, especially when rivals such as the Ford have those extra special features. So then, out and about in the 2008, what I will tell you is Stellantis know how to do suspension right. This isn't too soft, but at the same time, it does corner really flat and feels really solid and really tight in the steering, especially when you're on the motorway and stuff. Like, it's got a really tight center zone, which gives you lots of confidence, which is really nice. Now, around small areas like this, I'm pottering around mostly on electric, which is lovely. If I start throttling it around this roundabout a little bit, you'll see that actually, it does perform pretty well. It does stay pretty flat regardless of the circumstance that you do. So I'm heading around here. It does feel like it is starting to understeer a little bit, but it still corners pretty flat. I've got loads of confidence in it. Chuck it around, and there we go. So yeah, it does feel pretty confidence inspiring in terms of the handling. It's not quite a B-road basher in the same way that a Ford Puma is, but it's not bad at all. Everything feels really solid in here, and the noise isn't too bad either. The most amount of noise I have is really from like through the windows because they're not laminated or anything special, but it's nothing too crazy, to be honest. It's nothing I would worry about. And as I'm cruising along, like I said, everything feels nice and tight, nice and easy. And now I'm out on the main roads, there's not much electric shove there. Like, I put my foot down and I feel that the combustion engine really does have to kick in to do the legwork. The gearbox itself is pretty good and pretty responsive, but I do find that round town it can kick you around a little bit. It kind of reminds me of like the early Volkswagen Audi group boxes where you would be in traffic and sometimes it would lurch you into a different gear depending on what you were doing with the throttle. It does do that sometimes, which is a little bit annoying, especially in a hybrid. Obviously, not being a full hybrid, you're not going to get that fully electric all-round town experience, but in general, at super low speeds, you can hear and feel that it is running on that electric power, and it will tell you on the dash how often it is using that. It's quite manoeuvrable, and the steering is quite light when you're at low speed, but it does stiffen up a little bit as you get up to speed, which is nice. It gives you the confidence that the car's going to drive straight and true on those longer journeys. I don't really find the drive modes do much either, to be honest. I can switch between eco, so the eco mode, I mean, it just seems to use the kind of the regen a little bit more strongly, so as I come off the accelerator it wants to brake a little bit harder, and then the sport mode just seems a little bit more jolty on the gearbox response. But there's honestly not enough difference between the three modes that I would ever care, so I'll just leave it in normal and leave it alone. I am super impressed with the handling though. It does just feel nice, and the brakes quite sharp as well. They're responsive for a hybrid, and obviously mild hybrids does make a difference. They're not going to be as spongy as like an electric car and that kind of thing, but they do feel pretty responsive, and underfoot the pedal is a little bit of a spongy feel, but it's very progressive, so you know exactly what the car's going to do, which is always good, because sometimes you do feel like a lack of confidence can throw you off a little bit. So if I floor it, there is a bit of a kick down delay, and you can hear the engine does have to work a little bit harder when joining the motorway there, but yeah, it's not too bad. It does go through the gears nice and smoothly, being a dual clutch box. I don't really find an awful lot of need for the pedals, but I can go into manual mode myself and then go through the gears, but there's no rev counter, so it's responsive, but I just don't see why you would do it, especially as it's trying to utilize the hybrid more than anything. If I kick down, can I kick down to fourth here? Yeah, the gear changes are responsive, but it's not sporty at all, so It's nice that they're there, but once again, as in many cars, I just wouldn't use them because that's not the sort of car this is. So let's go back into the normal mode. In terms of driver assist features, it's pretty good as well. So there is lane keep assist and things. So if I try and straddle a lane, it will slowly tug me back in, which is good. But it's not too intrusive like in some older cars. They've really nailed the system. And on a motorway drive like this, I can set the cruise control down here if I want to, and it feels fairly straight and narrow. There is a bit more noise in here now though, but thankfully not too much tyre noise because they are still fairly chunky. It's just that I feel like some laminated windows would do the trick for that sort of sound insulation, or maybe some more insulation up here somewhere maybe. But it does just really glide over the imperfections in the road. It feels quite similar to the Citroen suspension, those hydraulic bump stops, just making things a little bit more streamlined out here, which is nice, especially when the road surface starts to waver a little bit. The speed limit warning, whilst there isn't a super easy way to turn it off, it is actually not very intrusive at all. It makes like a dum dum noise, very similar to the indicator, and it's quiet as well. So I haven't actually really noticed it. If you stray over a mile an hour or two, it does go off, but it's not intrusive enough when the music's on for me to care about. Yeah, those overtakes can just be a little bit sluggish with that dual clutch box, but not the end of the world. Just don't expect crazy levels of performance from the hybrid because it's not a full hybrid. That being said, it does drive quite similarly to its rival, the Ford Puma, in that it's quite a tight feeling, quite nice handling car that just feels really solidly put together. I would say the Puma excels in the handling department though. This feels a little bit less planted and a little bit less fun in terms of the texture through the wheel. But on a nice long journey like this, that's not something I really care about. And I do like this cabin. It's just a nice place to spend some time. You've got some really good rivals out there now, especially things like the MG hybrids even will do a nice job of being quicker than this and also smoother to drive and returning better fuel economy. But obviously reliability is a concern, and a brand like Peugeot, they offer sort of dealer service activated warranties now, which means that you can keep going back for many years to come for any issues. As you come off the accelerator, you can feel the car go down into its kind of charging mode, and you can feel that the electric kicks in, and that's when it becomes a little bit smoother. But at those lower speeds, it starts off in electric, and then you kind of feel the jolt as the gearbox cuts in and starts to take over, which, yeah, I do prefer the hybrid systems where, you know, Kias and Hyundais, for example, they use a traditional automatic gearbox rather than a dual clutch. And I think in that situation it helps because they're not as responsive and not as snappy to use, especially with paddles and stuff. But for your day-to-day driving, yeah, dual clutch in this situation, I'm not sure is the best application. But obviously, if you're out doing spirited driving, it will be nicer to use. I'm still not convinced about this seating position either. Like, it's just not quite right for me at my height. I can rest my elbows though, and I can see the display in front of me. It's just a little bit awkward, but I do like that this screen is angled towards me and I can reach everything. So I'm comfortable enough. I'm not sure I want to live with it day to day. My mum had a 208 though, which is effectively the same inside, just a bit smaller, and she absolutely loved it and said that it was all in the right place for her, and she's a lot shorter than me, so I guess your mileage may vary. But yeah, the thing that continues to impress me is just the way this thing corners and handles. It's not at the same level as the Ford Puma, don't get me wrong, it really isn't, but it's not far off either. A lot of cars, especially cheaper ones, feel really sloppy, and the suspension feels a bit too soft and wallowy, the steering feels too vague and indirect, but this feels almost a little bit old school in how it handles, just in that I can really feel a bit of texture and what's going on, which is welcome in 2026. Like, yes, there is a little bit of input delay, but if you're not going for absolute agile sharpness, it feels tight and it feels solid. And in lower speed sort of traffic situations like this is where it becomes smoother because you can feel the hybrid kicking in and doing its thing. And if you want a more analog car as well, this will feel that, because the hybrid doesn't kick in enough for you to feel like it's a fully electric car. There are some hybrids out there, you know, the MGs, the Cherry Tiggo, and various other cars, Toyota for example, they will return better economy and feel faster because they use a full hybrid sort of self-charging tech. This, as you can see, even pulling away, it does bring out the combustion engine, and I can feel the gears changing, so it feels more like a normal car. So if you're coming from an older car, or you don't really like the feel of electric cars, this sort of mild hybrid probably work better for you as well. And I do like the fact that all of the traffic sign recognition and all the tech and stuff, it's not very intrusive at all, especially compared to some other modern cars. My pick would probably be the hybrid or the electric one. The electric one, obviously 240 odd miles of range isn't too bad if you're going to be doing mainly city driving anyway, and the normal petrol version I think maybe just isn't for me now, just because I think we're getting past that point where the standard petrol is what people want, because they don't quite return enough economy on longer runs. Yeah, it's no sports car, but it's no soft slouch either. Turning circle is really good and tight as well for a car this size. Most people are going to be doing this pottering around in town, right? And the more spirited country driving is just for occasion, and this can do that if you really want it to. It's not going to be quite as practical or quite as nice to drive as a Ford Puma, which I think is the main rival to look at here. But if you want something that looks a little bit more fancy inside and maybe just has a bit more of a aggressive on-road stance and slightly chunkier feel to it, then this is probably going to be a really good option for you. And if you do want a review of those rival cars, then you do find them on the channel. I've got plenty to choose from, so please go and check those out. And if you need help buying a used car, use my affiliate links in the description below, of course. So thank you so much to Peugeot for sending me out the car. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. All of your likes, comments and subscriptions go such a long way. And I think that I can pretty much recommend the 2008. It's not my favourite car in the segment, I don't think, but it's a really good all-rounder, and Peugeot have come such a long way in the last few years to make some really solid cars. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.